Hello everybody, I am the Black Sigma, or you could just call me Eric, and welcome back to Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations, and I am really thinking about recording hour-long episodes, because, the past 3 or 4, half-hour-long ones feel like I am barely progressing in this trial. You know, with the really loud wind and rain, this isn't a great time to record this, but, it was 2 episodes past me. Not 4. And this is the tutorial case of this game. So in order to actually make some progress, episodes are gonna start getting longer. I apologize for that. Unless you're someone who likes long-form content, in which case, welcome. I would say have fun falling asleep to the sound of my voice, but, if I'm gonna keep doing Winston Payne's voice, I don't think you'll be sleeping very well. Let's hear about what you witnessed on the day of the incident, if you please. Sweet, innocent Dahlia Hawthorne. If you saw my last episode, you know how much wrongdoing I theorize this woman's committed. I had been planning to go back to Feeney's place after class was all over. Why did I say the word all? I don't know. Feeney and Dougie, they were talking behind the building. Then, suddenly, Dougie got all wobbly and just collapsed. She's going to convince the court that she lied to protect her boyfriend, which is going to make them like her even more. That's when Feeney noticed I was there. I went to go and find some other students, and they called the authorities. I don't know what to say. According to you, Ms. Hawthorne, the defendant didn't do anything wrong. Young lady, as old as I am, even I recall how hot the flames of young passion can burn. Glad to know that Winston had an active sex life when he was in college. Nevertheless, it is my job to discover the truth. I'm sure that pompadour was really cool when he was in his... when he was in his 20s. Actually, how old is Winston currently? 49. Yep. What? Hang on. Why does he have a cat face going on? What? You know what? I've got to stop questioning these things. It is my job to discover the truth. Please tell us the truth. But I would never. That's more than enough, witness. I won't allow this to continue. What do you mean by that? Please, just let me proceed with my cross-examination, Your Honor. I, for one, don't plan to win my case on a bunch of paper-thin lies. You haven't changed a bit, Mia Fey. Glad you recognize me. What's this? So, you two are acquainted? Is that why you repeatedly slapped Grossberg earlier? And she punched me. Yes, we've met before. Once. In any case, Ms. Fey, the floor is all yours. It's good to see you again, Madam Fey. Madam? I'm no one's grandma yet, girly. Had been planning to go back to Feeney's place after class was over. They were talking behind the building. He got all wobbly and just collapsed. Phoenix's testimony doesn't include the specific line that he was shoved. I'll press it instead of objecting. You're saying he just collapsed on his own? Yes? In other words, the defendant never touched the victim. Is that right? I was watching the whole time. Feeney never did a thing to Dougie. If I press her for no good reason, I just know the judge will get angry with me. What should I do about her testimony just now? Show the contradiction. Feeble lies are not very becoming, Miss Hawthorne, and I'm sorry I skipped part of that last line. What? I would never. Ms. Fay, I will not allow you to badger this witness. I believe the defense is engaged in a fishing expedition. That is, she has no supporting. Please don't glare at me like that. I'm just doing my job. Now then, Ms. Hawthorne. The defendant's palm print was found on Mr. Swallow's leather jacket. It has already been shown that Mr. Wright did, in fact, push the victim. What? There's no need to try and cover for the defendant. It would be much better if you came out and told us the whole truth. You know, that you killed him. What? There's nothing to worry about, young lady. Just tell us everything that you saw. Yes, Your Honor. I will. If you don't mind, I'd like to revise my testimony. Looks like we're finally getting somewhere. Actually, that show made by College Humor that's now on the streaming service Dropout, which has replaced College Humor as a brand, formerly hosted by Mike Trapp, but now by Iffy Wadaway. I fucked up that pronunciation by trying to do Dahlia's voice. I'm so sorry, Iffy. I didn't see the moment he pushed Dougie. You didn't see it? Well, I saw the moment when Dougie fell to the ground. And at that time, there was only the two of them at the scene? The defendant, Phoenix Wright, and the victim, Doug Swallow? Yes, that's right. Didn't look like they were fighting, didn't hear anything unusual. Why would this line be added if I don't have evidence against it? Time of death, crime behind the IVU building, watch showing the time of death. Cold Killer X. Didn't hear anything unusual. The snap of the umbrella. She should have heard something. I'll press first, but then thought they were having a nice friendly afternoon conversation. Wasn't watching them closely, notice anything out of the ordinary. Not at all. Didn't hear anything unusual. I nearly presented the umbrella itself, but Phoenix's testimony covers this. You say you didn't hear anything unusual, is that correct? Yes, that's why I was very relaxed, looking at the scenery around me. The broken electrical wire, the concrete building. That's nice, but I find that just a little odd. I have here the testimony of your boyfriend, Mr. Phoenix Wright, and he clearly testified to the effect that when he pushed the victim, he heard a sharp, loud noise. He said that? If you were really that close to the two of them, why didn't you hear this noise as well? Well, maybe the noise just wasn't all that memorable. But according to Mr. Wright's testimony, it was a sharp noise like a snap. There's no way a noise like that could fail to make an impression. Ah! May I have a moment to answer? By all means. I know the reason why I didn't hear the noise. You see, the truth is, I had my headphones on, and I was listening to music at the time. And then the DJ said, "It's almost Christmas." What do you mean it's the middle of April? Or the start of early April. Headphones? You mean that both of your ears were covered? The rain was just beginning to let up, but it seemed as though Thor wasn't ready for his fun to come to an end yet. You know, Thor from the MCU. He was a Norse god before he was in that, Miss Hawthorne. So the sky continued to flash and rumble. Thunder and lightning, huh? Yes, I'm afraid of the sound of thunder. So I put my headphones on to block it out. Well, Your Honor, as you can see, there weren't any contradictions in her testimony after all. Wait a sec, Mia. That testimony just now. She said something that could totally change this whole case. Her not hearing anything is fine if she was wearing headphones. Her wearing headphones is seemingly fine. I don't think I have any statements to the contrary. If there was lightning, that could cause problems. Like, just the loud noises generated would make it hard for Phoenix to hear the umbrella snapping or something stupid like that. Your Honor, there is a problem with the witness's testimony. What do you mean? Didn't you notice? She said there was lightning, correct? Yes. What about it? Well, lightning is actually a large discharge of electricity in the atmosphere, am I right? Or it has something to do with the wire snapping. Like lightning struck one of the power poles. That works too. Now's not the time for a science lesson, Ms. Faye. Yes, Your Honor. Anyway, since the cause of death was electrocution, isn't it possible that the victim died from being hit by a bolt of lightning? Mia's really arguing that there is no murderer. I must admit that the thought had not occurred to me. Just what kind of thoughts do occur to this guy anyway? This entire case is built on the premise that Mr. Doug Swallow was murdered. But that very premise itself is mistaken. The defense believes that Mr. Swallow was in fact the victim of a stray bolt. It appears the defense may be onto something. Could it be that the death was actually accidental? Alright, you did it, Mia. I'll be taking that not guilty now if you don't mind. Heh 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 heh. Heh 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 heh. Hee hee. You can't do this a second episode in a row, Mr. Payne. I'm hurt that you have such a low opinion of me, Ms. Faye. Huh? I'm not a fool, you know. The prosecution has done its research, Your Honor. We found that there were no lightning strikes on that day at that location. What? What's more, we have evidence that the electrical cable is definitely linked to this case. Evidence? Mr. Payne. Well, what is this evidence? This affidavit. It's actually pronounced affidavit. You know, Mr. Wright was really incorrect when he tried to pronounce it kind of French way back in the first series. But it sounds fancier this way, Your Honor. You make a good point. And who is this affidavit? Affidavit. It's really not. Who is this affidavit from? The pharmacology students who were conducting experiments in their labs that day. Allow me to read out to the court the testimony of the pharmacology students. All equipment in the labs lost power all of a sudden at around 3 p.m. that day. Was it a blackout? All of the lab's equipment runs on high voltage, Your Honor. So you're saying the equipment lost power because... Precisely. They lost power because of the severed electrical cable. The power outage occurred at approximately 3 p.m., which fits with the time of death listed in the autopsy. Exactly. In other words, the victim died as a result of touching the severed electrical cable. You know that whole thing that you mentioned at the start of this trial, and then you tried to backpedal because you thought it'd prove your client innocent? Yeah, why'd you try and backpedal on your own logic? Gotcha. According to the students, the cables were very old. They were planning on having them replaced in the near future. I see. Apparently the cables had become so brittle that even the smallest bump would have caused them to break. The old power cable broke due to some sort of impact on the day, the 9th of April. Yeah, I said it correctly this time. I like how I previously said American dating system and then still read it as if it was an Australian date. Like a dumbass. But, 2:55, you say. However, there's one thing that troubles me. If the cable could have been broken by any small bump, then it wouldn't have snapped... I didn't finish that sentence. Wouldn't it have snapped because victim was pushed or something? Probably. Suppose you could say that. Ms. Faye, do you have any thoughts regarding the cause of the severed cable? Your Honor. Don't like how this is looking one bit. I have to come up with something to try to regain some momentum. If it pleases the court, the defense would like to state its opinion. Very well then, let's hear it. Who or what was it that caused the cable to break? Well, I want to make the argument that it wasn't pushing the victim that caused the snap, because if that were the case, take a look at Doug's watch. 5 minutes passed when the cable was broken at 5:02. So, you know, if the cable had snapped basically at his time of death, it would have happened. His watch would be stopped sooner. But the cable can't have already been broken, because Phoenix would have seen it before pushing Doug. Who or what was it that caused the cable to break? Because if my current theory is that Phoenix shoved Doug, knocked him over, didn't kill him, Phoenix walked away, Dahlia approaches the scene, cable is cut, she moves his body, kills him. That still doesn't quite work. Because I still don't have a what cut the cable. Although the phrase is who or what. My theory is that Dahlia did it. But it feels like at this point in the trial I'd be jumping the gun if I said that. Ah, screw it. I have plenty of, health left. The music actually stopped. I guess I was meant to accuse Dahlia of murder straight up. This is it. This is why the cable snapped. Well, Your Honor, I believe that the only thing that has snapped is the mind of the defense. Ah, that was one of your best lines yet, Your Honor. I think he had some better ones in earlier games. Give me one more chance. I don't even lose health bar / credibility for that? I'm just allowed to freely present things during this section? Oh. It's time. Take that! My badge! It caused the cable to snap. I love it when I don't lose credibility for anything. It means I can go through all the evidence without thinking of it. Because it's either, at this point, it's either going to be Doug falling over. Or maybe, like, the umbrella snagging a wire. But I'm still gonna present everything. It's the bottle of Cold Killer X! Doug threw Phoenix's medication at the electrical wire for no apparent reason. Why am I not losing health for this? Why? It was Doug falling over, Your Honor. Please think back to Mr. Wright's testimony. The defendant talked about it. He said that after he pushed the victim, he heard a loud, sharp noise. Now, this happened at around 3 p.m., correct? Lab equipment lost power at 2:55, which fits right in with Wright's timeline. In other words, it was Mr. Wright's shove that caused the power outage. Yes, the prosecution came to the same conclusion, and that's how Swallow was electrocuted. I'm afraid I can't agree with you there, Mr. Payne. If the wire snapped after he was pushed and on the ground, the wire doesn't reach ground level. Thanks, Shu Takumi. What's that supposed to mean? Take a look at where the victim landed after being shoved, see the umbrella by the electrical pole. Victim banged into that pole as a result of being pushed, caused the cable to break, and if he was over there, he was not in range to be electrocuted. The victim was shoved into the far pole. He couldn't have been electrocuted by this severed cable in the foreground. In other words, someone other than my client must have electrocuted the victim. Ah! Mr. Payne, didn't you say that like 2 lines of dialogue ago and Eric just didn't read it? That was a delayed-ass scream. Order, order in the court! Ah, the lamentations of my enemy. How I've longed to hear them. It's true, the defense is absolutely correct. There doesn't seem to be any way the defendant could have done it.
Mr. Judge, sir, may I say something? The Madam Attorney's explanation, she said some things that are a little different than I remember them.
What the?
Please, just once more. May I please testify one last time? Please, Mr. Judge?
Of course, it's alright. Just go ahead and give your new testimony.
This is it. She's finally starting to show her true colors. The truth is, Feeny pushed him twice.
Pushed him into the pole. He stood back up, pushed him into the now broken wire. And why would you suddenly say this after having previously lied in a way that'd make Phoenix seem innocent? Because she realized that she's gonna be the one called guilty if Phoenix isn't. And so now she's going to shove Phoenix under the bus when she wouldn't have done it before.
The first time was into the electrical pole. That's when the cable broke. Then Dougie tried his best to run away from him. but Feeney caught up and crashed into him from behind. The cable snapping and Dougie being electrocuted, it all occurred in less than a minute. Ha 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 ha. I've got your ass now, Dahlia. I know I skipped a lot of dialogue there, but it was mostly just, testimony, good shit. Really like what you just said. It definitely makes complete sense, but the defense can still do their cross-examination. Oh. Dahlia. The cable snapping at 2:55 and Doug being electrocuted happened in less than a minute, you say? Curious. That's enough, witness. I'm afraid I don't understand. You will in a minute. Could you please take a look at this picture? Oh, that medicine. That's the one Feeney likes to take for his cold. It's not the medicine I want you to look at. It's the wristwatch. It stopped at the precise time the victim was electrocuted. In other words, 3:05 p.m. Yes, and your point is, Miss Faye? That contradicts the testimony, Your Honor. Jesus, pay attention. My point is this. What time was it when the lab suffered that power outage due to the cable snapping? Well, according to the student's testimony, the answer is clear. It was 2:55 p.m. Would you care to explain to the court, Ms. Dahlia Hawthorne? What exactly happened during this 10-minute interval? The defense proposes that it was during this interval that the real murderer killed Mr. Doug Swallow. Order in the court. What is all this about? This is nonsense. The real murderer. Even you can't deny the time between the cable breaking and the electrocution are completely unaccounted for. Then who was it? Who else are you saying could have done it? There's only one person who could have murdered Mr. Swallow. Only after my client had left the scene was there a window of opportunity for the real killer. Miss Faye, is the defense ready to indict someone as this real killer? It's finally time. This is the moment I've been waiting for, except for the part where I didn't wait. Yes, Your Honor. We are ready. Very well. But remember, if you accuse the wrong person, you will be penalized. Unlike when you accused her of committing murder about 20 minutes ago. Think very carefully before you speak, Ms. Faye. Now then, Ms. Faye, let's have it. Who is the real killer? It could only have been you, Dahlia Hawthorne. What? How? How can you? The defense is grasping at straws. 10 minutes passed between the time the cable broke and the time of electrocution. What exactly were you doing that whole time, Ms. Hawthorne? Were you really listening to some music while cheering them both on as they fought? I find it hard to believe that you didn't lift a finger to stop the men dearest to you.
Order, Miss Faye. What? I mean, why? As to say,
Ms. Hawthorne, I believe you did witness the two men fighting on that day. However, after Mr. Wright pushed the victim and subsequently left the scene, it was you who pushed Mr. Swallow to his death by your very own hands. And we even have motive. Remember Phoenix's testimony? Bad-mouthing Dolly. She killed Doug because he was trying to tell Phoenix that she was a murderer. So she just murdered him. How can you say something so mean, Madam Faye? I didn't do anything.
Mrs. Faye, this is a very serious charge you are...
Your Honor, please, I have something I want to say.
You? What is it?
Please strike everything the defense just now said just now. Words. I'm not a lawyer yet, I can't speak good in a courtroom, but strike what Ms. Faye just said from the record. What the? Are you daft? Am I British calling someone daft? You're totally wrong, Ms. Faye. Dolly, she couldn't do something like that.
Mr. Wright, get back in your seat. Bailiff, grab that man. And whack his pee-pee while you're at it.
Leave my Dolly alone. Oh. That boy.
He's gotten himself way in over his head. Pardon me for sounding a little bit like, Dahlia earlier.
Oh, Mr. Grossberg, you're back.
It seems I've arrived just in the nick of time. Do you get it, Miss Faye?
Not really, Who are you talking about?
What? Well, the NIX, the Nix at the end of Phoenix, kinda sounds like Nick, if you wanted to give him a nickname.
What? Who would be stupid enough to call him that? You'd either have to be some kind of idiot who would make a clock in the shape of the Thinker, and you have to tilt its neck to hear the time, or, well, not to talk bad about my own sister, but, she can be a little excitable, to say the least.
I found the police report on that incident in your newspaper clipping.
Thank you so much. This is exactly what I was hoping for. Please tell me it straight up says the guy was poisoned. Let's see. Courthouse cafeteria. Victim Diego Armando. I'm not going to say anything more about that. Suspect Dahlia Hawthorne. Armando ingested poison while interviewing the suspect regarding another case. Traces of poison were found in the victim's coffee cup. No poison was found in the vicinity or on the suspect's person. It is unclear how the poison entered the victim's coffee cup. Do I really need to say anything? If you saw the previous episode with all the accusations I threw at Dahlia before we even confirmed her as the murderer in this case.
Yeah. You'd better take a good look at it. It'll... important info for you to know. Now then, the defense has made a very serious accusation. Mr. Payne, what do you have to say?
Well, really, Your Honor, that is, May I interrupt you for just a moment, Mr. Prosecutor?
Don't you worry, my dear. I have this situation well in hand.
That is,
go right ahead.
Madam Faye, are you seriously accusing me of killing my sweet Dougie?
Yes, I am.
Not only am I saying you murdered Doug Swallow,
but you also tried to pin the whole thing on your current lover, Phoenix Wright. I told you that you should let me handle this. I don't... Weeping isn't really a noise in and of its own. It's generally sobbing and wailing that comes with the territory of weeping. Sorry, please go ahead.
How can you say that? I'm absolutely devoted to my dear Feeny. The notion that I would try to frame him is ludicrous. This is all just too much for poor little me to bear.
I believe the girl is trying to ask what on earth her motive would be. The answer to that lies somewhere in this police report. It must. 8 months ago, an incident occurred in the basement cafeteria of this building. And then, the same day, the two of them accidentally met. Your Honor, the defense requests further testimony from Ms. Dahlia Hawthorne. Further testimony? What about? About the events of the day when she first met the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright. What could that possibly have to do with this case? The witness claims that she has no reason to frame the defendant, am I correct? Well, I have evidence that she, in fact, had a very good reason. Very well then. The court grants the defense's request. Young lady, would you mind staying on just for the stand for a little longer?
Of course not, Judge.
Get ready for the battle of your life, Dahlia Hawthorne. For a tutorial case, this one is, like, pretty intensely story-heavy. Like, this has major implications for Phoenix's entire backstory. Having a girlfriend that committed multiple murders in attempting to hide a previous murder. Yeah. First met darling Feeny 8 months ago. It's like we were destined to meet in this very courthouse's basement reading room. The moment our eyes met, my heart skipped a beat. We've been going out ever since that fateful day. Phoenix chimes in. We're so lovey-wovey, we literally make people sick. It's just jealousy, I think. Mr. Wright, do that again and you will be held in contempt of court. Now we enter the final act of our little drama. As we used to say in the days of my youth. Reminds me of the scent of fresh lemon. But the other way around. Go get her! Alright. First met Feeny 8 months ago. Until that time you'd been dating Doug. Let emotions change so quickly. Critics have been calling the judge fickle. Yeah, you sure are quite fickle at times, Your Honor. Maybe look for a different line of work. Despite that, he always hands down the correct verdict. His That's why some people also call him the Great Judgini. Like Houdini. You get it? The famous magician Houdini? I get it. It's like we were destined to meet in this courthouse's reading room. Strange place to meet the love of your life. Feeney was not only an art student, but planning on becoming a lawyer. Not talking about him, talking about you. What was a literature student like you doing in a courthouse reading room? This line of questioning's a waste of time, nothing to do with our murder case. Ms. Faye, I'm warning you. If this has nothing to do with Mr. Swallow's case... Have to remember the judge is on Dahlia's side. I'd better tread carefully. Screw that. Your Honor, if you'll allow me some latitude, I think I can establish relevance. Please ask her to continue on with her testimony. Very well, young lady, I've got a simple question for you. What were you doing downstairs in the courthouse reading room? If it pleases Your Honor, the answer is simply this. I had come to this courthouse to do some research for a paper I was writing. Ah, you lying little... Ms. Hawthorne, you weren't here because of your research paper, were you? Didn't you actually come here for a much more important reason? What is the meaning of that cocky smile on your face, Ms. Faye? 8 months ago, right here in this very courthouse, there was another tragedy. Another tragedy? Do you mean the incident in which an attorney was poisoned? What was his name again? Diego Armadillo? Armando, Your Honor. The name of the suspect in that incident is listed here in this report. Dahlia Hawthorne. What? Dahlia Hawthorne? Yes, the sweetie pie of everyone's eye, Ms. Dahlia Hawthorne. She was the prime suspect in a criminal case just 8 months ago. Order. This is unbelievable. It's true then. The loveliest rose... have the sharpest thorns? Yeah, sometimes the text boxes automatically skipping because people get interrupted can be, real hard to read, especially if you're doing a generally slower voice like this one. Ms. Faye, that's not fair. You can't slander my witness with an unrelated case. I, winced in pain, will not have it. Mr. Prosecutor, I believe I was speaking. Pardon me. Go right ahead. It's true that about 8 months ago, the police expressed some interest in me. Expressed some interest, huh? So you're saying between the time you dated Doug Swallow in Phoenix Wright, you dated a policeman? That's not what I was saying at all, Your Honor. Mr. Judge, sir, I know I'm under oath, so I'll tell you the absolute truth.
I did not commit the crime that occurred during that incident 8 months ago.
I see.
Okay, I've tied the two crimes together. I've just got to stay on the offensive.
Hold on, Mia. Oh, you've really lit a fire in my heart. And my buttocks.
Don't your hemorrhoids normally act up when something's wrong? Why are they acting up now that I've got a decent lead? Never mind. Shu Takumi, your writing is incredible at times. Truly, This is a sentence so incredible, I don't know if I can even say it out loud.
I can hardly tell which is more inflamed. My spirit or my hemorrhoids.
And we're gonna move on from that. The poisoning. I met the lawyer who was poisoned to discuss something in the cafeteria that day. I left my seat for just a moment, and that's when it happened. From what I heard, it was a liquid poison that is lethal at just 2 teaspoons. Weirdly specific information. But I guess if you're the suspect, you get to learn that information. Even though I have a funny feeling she already knew that. Not only that, I heard it was a very special kind of poison. So you see, I'm innocent. I wouldn't even know where to get a poison like that. Up until that day, you were dating Doug Swallow, a pharmacology student. He works with medicines. Some of them probably over the counter, but more of them probably chemicals. Poisons. She knows exactly where she got a poison. She could have gotten a poison like that from Doug.
So that's what happened here 8 months ago. However, as you've heard, she had nothing to do with it. I think the defense is just about out of tricks.
I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Payne. But I'm afraid the defense has many more tricks up its sleeve today, and I'll be sure to show them to you before the end of this cross-examination. Ugh, what the? Why does the defense suddenly feel stronger?
Aha, Mia, you're glowing with a true lawyer's aura, my dear. You see, if you take this special stone...
I already have a Magatama, Mr. Grossberg. You don't need to give me one.
Oh, this isn't a Magatama. This is a hemorrhoid cure. I just haven't used it yet. The proud posture and self-confidence, absolutely smashing.
I don't know whether I should start pressing things. Like, you know, when the poisoning happened and how she knows the details about it. But I feel like attempting to go straight for the kill. If it doesn't work, oh well, I take a penalty.
I am a phoenix, right? God. You wouldn't know how to get that kind of poison. I don't believe you. What? In fact, you had easy access to that kind of poison, didn't you? At your boyfriend's lab. Boyfriend? You mean the victim, Mr. Doug Swallow? That's right. Up until 8 months ago, Ms. Hawthorne was dating Mr. Swallow. And if you'll recall, Mr. Swallow was a pharmacology student at Ivy University. Pharmacology? His laboratory contained highly advanced chemistry equipment. In fact, without such equipment, the culprit could never have obtained such a rare and special poison. Well, Miss Hawthorne, it seems you had access to such a poison after all. And then, it was a matter of slipping it into the victim's coffee when he wasn't looking. The only person who could have done that was the one sitting at this very table, you. No! Order. Could it be? That's nothing but a baseless... May I say something, Madam Faye? What is it, Ms. Hawthorne? The amount of poison in the coffee was 2 teaspoons, correct? In order to carry that much liquid, you would need some kind of container. Oh yes, that's true. I was searched immediately after the incident took place. Well, after I made a stop in the reading room and gave my necklace to Feeny, but that doesn't matter. Quite true. In fact, the entire courthouse was turned upside down. Except for that one law student who just got a necklace. But they didn't find a You know, I started stuttering accidentally. I continued it as a joke, but then I couldn't bring myself back to normal afterwards. They didn't find a sus container anywhere, did they? You see, I've been playing Among Us. Objection, that game isn't out yet. She's right. They even mentioned that in the report. Well, you could have easily gotten rid of something that small. Excuse me, madam, but this is a court of law. If you're saying I threw the poison container away, I think you need to show some kind of proof. Proof? No, she didn't get you good with that, Mia. Provide some evidence or I'll have to disallow this line of questioning. Unless we can come up with some evidence, we're going to lose this lead. The police conducted a full-body search of Dahlia and of the entire courthouse, and yet the container holding the poison disappeared right after the crime occurred. If you're going to accuse the young lady of committing murder, then where is the container the poison was carried in? What happened to it? Your Honor, I will present the evidence that I need to in the next episode. Bye.